technical team at GB aims to have this generator back online before the end of 2024. I want, of course, to repeat that by paying the bills, we will also contribute to a more stable financial situation of the GEBE. MP Otley, his first question, a public meeting will be requested. The matter is now a national crisis. I agree with the MP that we are in a national crisis. However, not only now. I mentioned that a few months ago already. That is why this government focused on the short, mid, and long-term solutions to get to a solution of this national crisis for our country. Question number 2 from MP Otley. Have not received government's vision for the next 4 years. This question was already answered, but the MP is suggesting that government should have a plan also at place. As usual, I think we need to make the difference between government and the shareholders. Our main concern as a government at this moment is that we want the public to be able to enjoy constant and reliable service of GEBE. As mentioned previously, we agree as a government that the long-term solution should be renewable energy. However, at this moment, our focus is on today and how the people of St. Martin can receive the necessary service from this government-owned company as soon as possible. I can promise Parliament that as soon as the shareholder receives the 4-year plan from GEBE after the decisions in the Council of Ministers, this plan or a synopsis thereof will be sent to Parliament. Question number 3 from MP Otley. What is the timeline that relief can be given to the people based on the negotiated agreement with 7 Seas? The purpose of amending the water supply agreement with 7 Seas was to reduce actually the take or pay clause compared to the agreement made in April 2018. NVGB had made numerous requests for the reduction of this clause as GB was paying for water that was not being produced or used by GB, which was causing a negative financial impact on GEBE. The reduction was agreed upon along with an extension of the water supply agreement. This reduction made it financially feasible for the NVGB to manage the water company, but has no impact on the billing of the consumer. As mentioned previously, the government will shortly hold meetings with relevant stakeholders such as the GEBE, the Harbour, the 7 Seas and SOL to determine how the fuel clause can be mitigated in order to give relief to the consumers on their bills. Question number 4 from MP Otley. What is the update on the connection with the French side so that GB can bring extra revenue to their coffers? The government was informed that by GEBE that there was a signed memorandum of understanding. However, according to GEBE, today there has never been a request made to use this interconnection point. I have not yet received a copy, by the way, of this MOU. As soon as I receive a copy of this MOU, I will discuss it with the Council of Ministers and we will agree upon a way forward.
To go back on the meter reading, Prime Minister, through you, Madam Chair. I'll give an example in my own case. The GB bill of my home has gone up predominantly higher than normal. My household has reduced from 4 persons to 1, and myself, I'm not home most of the day. But my bill is way higher than it's supposed to be. So me, myself, I'm facing these billing issues, and for those others who have mentioned this, our constituents, as I mentioned, brought this up to the correct departments and don't seem to be finding any headway with their billing issue complaints. So I just would like to know, through you, Madam Chair, where there can be a communication gap and where can I myself also go to speak to an individual from GEBE and where I can direct those who are coming to me about their billing issues that they are facing.
Chair, I have a similar concern to MP Kotai regarding the bills. if you look at the time that we had the intense load shedding, so let's say July to August, and I'm not even looking at the, for example, how high the bill was, or even the fuel cost. Let's look at the usage. So I've looked at and analyzed the usage, and when I look at the amount I used then versus a period earlier, it doesn't make any sense. Why? For example, in Kobe or let's say Hill, they were out at least 8 hours a day. So it can be that with less usage, my bill is higher. So not looking at fuel clause. I'm looking at usage now. With less usage, my bill is higher than in the past. And I do have an example of why that is potentially happening. So we're busy load shedding, and my AC goes off, my fridge goes off. For the AC or the fridge to reach back to temperature, it takes a lot more energy than it being constantly on. So you burn current every time. So if every single day you go off for 4 hours, yes, the bill will be higher. Your usage will increase because people are confused because they're saying, listen, how come my usage is more in July or August when I've been out for 8 hours a day? Because the energy consumption of the equipment is more. No, so that's true, that's a fact. But is it fair to me as a consumer? Because I didn't purposely take off my AC, my fridge every day to bring it up to that point. It was done because of load shedding. So the consumer should not and cannot be punished because the entity had us load shedding. And you can verify this information. You look at the usage of those 2 months is less, but is more in a period of time where load shedding was more. So I believe that at least for those 2 months, GB has to look up at some type of compensation because it cannot be on a consumer, because then it's almost a blackmail, right? That, you know what, to get more money out of the population, I'll just load shed, their energy consumption will go up, and then I'll get more money. We just can't do that, at least for those 2 months.
It was stated by MP Durant's questions that the throughput fees was established to pay for the causeway. It was stated that was established by the then government. Which government and which year? On top of that, I would like to know, when was the fuel clause introduced? And also, when did we notice a significant increase in the fuel clause or the calculation of the fuel clause? Also, it is often said that GEBE is not passing the strain on the consumer. Over and under, we asked of this. GEBE, while we hold the shareholder reps accountable, I realize that we do that, of course, in our capacity. The reality is, where does the responsibility lie? When we were in the Council of Ministers, we realized as well that a lot of people dropped the ball. Therefore, there was a change in the supervisory board. There was change in the management, because at some point, responsibility needs to be had. That is why in the last meeting, through you, Madam Chair, I would have liked to see the head of the plant. I realized we didn't see the head of the plant or hear from him throughout this entire process. And I feel that, yes, as government, we take the onus of many things, but at a certain point, transparency and understanding that sometimes we need to drop the hammer. But what I realize is that, to me, the consumers get the bad end of the stick. GEBE not being able to follow up with the deal from 7 Seas, they can twist and turn, but the fact remains is that 7 Seas gave them a lower rate than ever before, allowing them to save even more money. And the idea of this was not so that GB can just save the money, have it on their bank account, but to transfer relief. And I'm talking about the water distribution deal for those who may be lost. On top of that, we have to deal with the friend side, and GEBE is showing no type of urgency. No type of urgency to say, oh, we have not received a request. This is something that can bring millions to the coffers of GEBE, and we are acting as if we have the leisure to sit and wait until the friend side asks something. An agreement was signed, and the idea was to start as soon as possible. So through you, Madam Chair, I'm not going to definitely say the government on this one. I would say GEBE, but I would turn to the Minister of VSA and say she has a responsibility as well. So someone needs to pick it up, and someone needs to ensure that we can gain revenues from this. Again, who is suffering? The consumers. Then now we see that there's an amendment where GEBE will be placed in the CAPEX. At the end of the day, this is the responsibility of the taxpayers, no matter how we twist and turn. Because in order to be budget neutral, as the Minister of Finance stated, things would have to be taken out. And this is what you call sacrifice. But to whom expense? The expense of the taxpayers. We suffer for a causeway that we couldn't pay for, introduced throughput fees, cost of living gone up, GEBE now, it's being painted as no consumer will feel the expense, being placed in CAPEX. So everything falls on the expense of the taxpayer or the consumer, no matter how we twist and turn it.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Let's get right into it. What are the main goals of the Reading Festival for this year?
The main goal is, first of all, to get our young people more involved in reading. Reading is a way to dream, to read, to create a world through books, through reading. And this is a global thing that our youngsters are not reading as much as they need to. And we thought, why not? We need to help the schools, we need to help our teachers with making a fun activity around the concept of reading. So when the idea came about, we were really happy to participate in this activity. And St. Martin is no different than any other place. So what happens in the world, we experience it as well. And we wanted to reach out primarily to our elementary schools and start there, where we can encourage them through games, through puppet shows, through artists coming and reading their work, through teachers being trained to encourage youngsters to read more. So it is not just the reading festival, but it's all the things that happens behind the scene, where the library, of course, plays a very important role, where they have the material and, you can go there and borrow books. But it is something that we, as community social organizations, we need to focus on getting our children in a better place.
Absolutely. And I did remember, pardon me for not including the St. Martin Library in my introduction, who also serves as a key stakeholder in the Reading Festival for 2024. Angela, how do you envision, can you expand on that for me? How do you envision the festival benefiting children and schools in St. Martin?
First of all, Cedric, this is not just an activity. This is a special activity, meaning when you engage youngsters in reading, they can make it part of their upbringing, part of their life, as young as they may be. It makes them become creative, and they can read and travel in their mind and experience the things just by reading. You don't have to be traveling, but you can read in your mind and travel in your mind. And you can, create all kinds of fantasies or extraordinary things. Just the other day, my husband and I, we were talking. And he said to me, Angela, did you remember when Keisha, our daughter, she drew a bus flying in the air? And her teacher says to her, Keisha, a bus does not fly. She says, in my story, it does. So, it tells you that there's no limit to the creative thinking of a child. When you expose them to reading, they make up their own stories, and that's fantastic.
Absolutely. I don't see this festival being this one and done, but in fact, an annual exercise that we are embarking on as a small island developing state. So I ask this next question: how do you see the Reading Festival evolving in the coming years if we are definitely looking to do this on an annual basis?
We are going to try it, right? We hope it triggers the mind of the youngsters. That's why we came together with the schools also, for us to focus and embrace the importance of reading. And with these 2 days, which is October 18th and 19th, we are going to expose the youngsters to reading, but in a fun way, meaning it is not just sitting and reading from a book. It is doing activities. It is engaging with other children, but doing things with the word. You can do puzzles with the word. You can do games with the word. You can imagine an apple and describe it with the word. So it is something that it is an activity around reading, around the brain, around your imagination. And it has to be in a festive way that you're going to encourage youngsters to take part in it. Because in school, when you have to read, that's kind of boring, isn't it? They put you to sit and then you read a book. So we want to take it from another angle. We want to make it fun. So you're going to have puzzles, you're going to have games, you have twisters, you have all of these stuff. And then we're going to do it in such a way, set it up in such a way that you can go from station to station. And then you get a stamp, you get a little print or something like that. And then we have the jumper castles, of course. Every child loves jumper castles. And we want to make it a fun day.
Absolutely.
A fun day with reading.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to remember to help keep you and your family safe. 6 hours before hurricane strikes, remember, if you're not in an area that is recommended for evacuation, plan to stay at home or where you are and let friends and family know where you're located. Close storm shutters and stay away from windows. Flying glass from broken windows could injure you. Turn your refrigerator or freezer to the coldest setting and only open it when necessary. If you lose power, food will last longer. Keep a thermometer in your refrigerator to be able to check the food temperature when the power is restored. For the latest weather updates and emergency instructions, turn on your TV and/or radio and visit stmartingov.org. This hurricane season, remember, it only takes one. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
SXM, your social and health insurance is SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social and health insurances.
Minister, just for the sake of clarification based on your statements that you made regarding the prison project, was St. Martin able to hold on to the $2 million that was promised for UNOPS, the UNOPS part of it? And can you also give us an update on the investigation that you said were launched involving management at the prison when you were informed that there were some kind of sexual harassment towards UNOP staff?
Okay. I will start with your first question. We did not lose the 2 million up to now. The 2 million also is brought up in our 2024 amendment budget that was already approved by COM. That will later on be handled in Parliament. So basically, once that is approved by Parliament, we can continue with the project with regards in using the 2 million for the upgrade of the prison. With the update, UNOPS has basically did their little investigation. They have also retracted with regards to the alleged sexual harassment claims. But also, like I said, there are also matters within the prison that we are still busy, how you're saying, we are looking into it, investigating it. And of course, if action needs to be taken, it will be taken by this minister.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Bibi. I would now like to invite Emily of Isle 92 Radio.
Good morning, Minister. I have two questions for you. One is going in and out of St. Peter's in the morning towards the schools is always a challenge with traffic. Previously, there used to be officers on the road helping to manage the traffic flows, and for some time they haven't been visible. Is that a conscious decision from the ministry not to have officers on the road guiding and regulating traffic in the mornings?
Well, it's good that you mentioned this, Mr. Lee, as I have no knowledge of it. I'm used to seeing the officers at the junctions of Zaker Scott Road and also on LB Scott Road doing the road management. If that is not the case in recent events, I will take it up with the Chief of Police in conjunction with the Secretary General of Justice.
Great. The second question is, littering is prohibited by law. I remember there are some ordinances regarding littering. I see the companies cleaning on the roadsides, and it's very frustrating. You see them cleaning, and then the next day already there's garbage on the road. Is there ever anyone who's fined or apprehended for littering and perhaps stopping the constant flow of garbage onto the roads? And is that something that falls under justice?
It does. What we have to do is bring an awareness, again, about littering. I remember when I was a young kid, I used to see the signs about littering. I do not see them anymore. As a police officer, as a former police officer, I've never stopped anyone or arrested anyone or fined anyone for littering. I do also think it is something that needs to be taken up, as I really think that the police also needs to enforce such once seeing it.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Emily. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Good morning, Ministers. With regard to the littering, based on the Algemene Politiekeur, it costs more for the police force to send an officer to a site where littering has occurred than the fine that is in the Algemene Politiekeur. Can you explain, you coming from the St. Martin Police Force, the challenges with the outdated Algemene Politiekeur and what can be done to raise the fines and change this whole part of the law?
Ms. Hoffman, point well taken, question well taken. Along with the latest verordening, I have to deal with my fine Minister of Finance. It is something, like I said, I'm here for nearly 6 months. However, my work will continue as a member of parliament to ensure that these fines can be realized to our modern day society. It's impossible that we have outdated fine payments for 90 guilders or 100 guilders from 1954. But now we can also update them and basically impose a stricter fine. I'm looking, like I said, across the border. You can't do those type of things on the French side because you will be fined heavily for it. So I'm not reinventing any wheel. I will look at what's going on the next part of the island and also present it to the Minister of Finance on how we can augment the fine, the fees in the latest verordening.
Thank you, Minister. Any other members of the media with a question for Minister Lewis? Bibi?
Minister, you spoke about immigration and the amount of people that are still undocumented and the lengthy process. There are people that I personally know that are waiting a year and a half, submitted their application, paid their fees, and no feedback. What are you doing? And while I know that you have a limited amount of time in office to be able to clean up the backlog, what is actually being done to that?
I've recently requested, I think yesterday, I've requested to have an urgent meeting with the staff, the director, SG, at immigration. Hopefully this meeting can be tomorrow or on Friday. I want to be honest with the people. I may try my utmost best as minister, as the one at the helm of the organization. But to be truthful, we have a lot of individuals working under the ministry that believe that they are the ministers and that they decide. And I'm here to say, because of that, we have a major backlog. So I will send a clear message in that meeting on Thursday or Friday that I am currently the minister. I currently decide on behalf of this country based on the verordening that we have. That others, because there are different means of obtaining your residency. So if someone, for example, requested based on labor and they can't get it based on labor, we as the people that represents them, that's supposed to assist them, can say, listen, you can also apply for it based on humanitarian. You can also apply for it if you open a company. We are supposed to be there to help the people and not be continuously telling the people, no, you cannot get it. Explain them why and how they can get it. That is the situation that we have with some civil servants. Some civil servants, I will say not all civil servants. And there's also those civil servants who will come to the minister and explain me what I'm telling you because I don't work immigration anymore. But I do have honest employees who will say, Minister, the people can get it based on this and based on that. But yet we have other employees that